Pinkertons Ghosts is a horror anthology podcast by Superversive Radio, with no affiliation with any detective agency, person, real or imagined, or the dark forces of Outre Terre. It is not intended for children.
I stood with Jim Donavan in the throne room of the underworld. Demons, lesser gods of false religions, stood around us, chattering and howling like monkeys, while Hades and Persephone sat before us, impassive. Jack Morrow and his mother, an exhausted and defeated-looking woman, sat slumped to the ground in front of us. They had their backs to a marble bench. I had never seen Jack's mother before. Even in the internal documents, her face was blurred out, or details smudged on the image itself. Even negatives were missing. She was a woman in her 40s who kept herself very fit. Her clothes, a feminine cut of Jack's usual detective wear, fit her like a glove. Jack's long face, nose, and more came from her. Her gray hair was tied into a ponytail, barely holding on as she no longer cared. I knew she was in her 40s from what Jack said, but something about her. Her youth had been corrupted, and what vitality was left served grim resignation of life. Well, I worry I talk about this too often, Control. But every now and then I get taken out of the moment and reflect on what happened to lead me to this point. Hell. I was standing in hell. There were doors around me, reflecting the beliefs of men who had not taken the outstretched hand of God, and now were stuck in this wretched place forever. Eternal damnation, the everlasting fire, just like the good book said, and it surrounded me. The very air smelled of misery. I don't know how else to describe it. Just looking around the room made higher, better things start to slip from your mind. If you stayed there too long, any man would go mad. The upper world would feel like a fading dream, and eventually this miserable bleakness would be all there was left. The sign to hell said to abandon hope, but really there was no need for a sign. Hope drained out of your body like water through a sieve just by standing in a place like this. But whatever choices led me here I was. I reminded myself for the billionth time that I chose this job. I took a deep breath and brought myself back to the moment. Hades raised a hand, the marble cracking at the joints, and the howling demons went silent, like a switch had been flipped. Sean Russo and Jim Donavan. Remarkable. For the first time since the Son of Man stormed my realm, a mortal man braves a trip to the underworld, and within less than a year 4 stand before me. And for what end? Surely you know that the gods don't bargain with mortals. Jim was exhausted, spent, barely standing after his nearly superhuman efforts to make it here. Jack was simply sitting, head bowed. He'd barely acknowledged us. It was up to me. Ma always said I had the gift of gab. I stepped forward. That's because most mortals have nothing to bargain with. Not this time. Hades raised an eyebrow impassively. Ah, Sean Russo. You should be proud for a son of Adam. You convinced the Queen of the Heavens to visit my deathly realm and speak to me of you. It is not easy for a mortal to vex a god so. So Hera had visited the underworld and talked about me to Hades. Interesting. My eyes narrowed. That demon is not the Queen of Heaven. Hades' eyes flashed dangerously, but his facial expression did not change. In my realm, you would do well to listen more carefully, Sean Russo. I said the heavens, not heaven. But enough of this idle chatter. What reason do you have to stand so confidently before my throne, or do you only mean to waste my time? Mentally, I kicked myself. Pitt and Sandave had worked with me, and I knew better than to accuse so quickly. Hades never chose his words carelessly. Either way, I forged on. I pushed away the twinge of panic. This was a negotiating tactic to throw someone off balance, and I had fallen for it. No use in dancing around the main point. The Paranormal Pinkertons control the heart of Chronos. This was meant to be our big trump card. It was a plan we cooked up with old Tom. This time Persephone spoke. Her face remained impassive. You hold the heart, bold to take it from our care, bold to think we would let you keep it. We have it protected, even from you. Go and check if you want. Hades barked orders at some imp who saluted and flew off. Then he narrowed his eyes at me. What do you expect this to accomplish? Before I could speak, the imp was back. I couldn't tell if he had flown so quickly I couldn't see him or teleported, but he spoke. Gone, gone, the heart is gone. It's been stolen, stolen, stolen. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? There was a great howling among the demons as they cried and yelled until the voice of Hades broke it. Silence! You shame me with your womanly simpering. We are not mortals to react to the twists of fate with tears and moans, but gods. We do not cower so in front of the sons of Adam. Control yourselves. At once the demons went silent. Hades turned to me. Do you not strike me as a fool, Sean Russo? You know the consequences of using the heart, I take it. Yes, you know the consequences. Personally. Odin lost his eye for wisdom. You lost your eye for a madman's fantasy. It won't be so cheap again. I'm not playing, and it's the consequences we're counting on. If we hold the heart, your kingdom stops and starts when we want it to. We can undo any mistake, any decision. This meeting goes badly? Maybe we just do it over. It's up to us now. If the universe can handle 2 Sean Russos, they'll take as many as we need. Hades narrowed his eyes. This time Persephone spoke. You use such bold words, Sean Russo, and yet you have not used it. Surely you know how foolish that would be. To stop the iron hands of time in their tracks, and push them backwards on the great stone clock face of the universe. Surely you know the folly of attempting to erase the words the sacred author has written in the Book of Life. I didn't answer her, but tried to keep my face impassive. Still, I must have betrayed something. The faces of Hades and Persephone are like stone. Stare into their eyes too long, and it's nearly impossible not to let some show of emotion slip. No, I can see it in your face, son of Adam. You have not tried. You would not dare. The heart remains unused, and will remain so. Everything Persephone said was true, but I tried to keep up the attack as best I could. We haven't had to use it yet, true, but we took it for a reason. Give us back our men, or we will turn back time and stop Jack from going in, no matter the cost. Paranormal Pinkertons look after their own. The choice is yours, just try us. But you didn't think we'd steal the heart. Want to bet we won't use it? Hades stared directly into my eyes, his stone face cold and impassive, his eyes boring into my soul. It took all of my willpower not to cower in front of his gaze. The demons continued to watch in total silence. Finally, the Lord of the Underworld spoke. It's been a long time since a human has managed to surprise me. Very well, Sean Russo. Congratulations. You have outmaneuvered the king of the underworld. In exchange for the return of the heart of Chronos, you may take 1 man back with you to the surface. For a brief moment, I felt a brief spark of hope, an almost alien feeling in a place so bereft otherwise, but as he continued to speak, the spark fizzled and died. 1 man only, of course. I, the Lord of the Underworld, am nothing if not fair. You come with a single bargaining chip. You have earned a single life. 1. He waved his hand. In a flash of green flame, a single goblet appeared in front of him. It lowered onto a marble plinth draped in black velvet. You must take the drink of the underworld, and stay with the dead until the end of time. I shook my head. No way, no deal. We all leave or we use the heart. That's the deal. Still, Hades betrayed no emotion, but merely spoke, calmly and clearly. Now you are being unwise. You dare to stand in my court and contradict me? This is the only deal. You say you are willing to use the heart? Then I dare you to try. The gods do not jump at your command, Sean Russo. I will bargain for one prisoner, and if you refuse the deal, then my monsters will storm the earth this very night. Do you truly believe you are prepared for the day the trumpets sound and the Ancient of Days returns in all his wrath and glory? Are you willing to call my bluff, mortal? I thought through what he said and responded quickly. Think like a lawyer. Your threat is hollow, demon. You don't decide Judgment Day, and nothing you do or don't do can move the designs of the Almighty. How about we stop with the nonsense and move on to what we're both really capable of? My offer stands. Give us both our men back, or we use the heart to turn back time and make it like none of this ever happened. The choice is yours. Now Persephone spoke. You speak with much conviction about what we can and cannot do, Sean Russo. Here is our counter-proposal, and see if your honeyed words can find fault in it. Take the deal, or we free Echidna from her pit in blackest Tartarus. She will breed and mother a new race of monsters, nightmare creatures designed to kill not the body but the soul, tailored to the flaws and vices of modern man. And if you choose to use the heart against all sense and wisdom and reverse it, we will do it again and again as our demons search. And when we find the heart and bring it back to its rightful place under our care, we will find you, and Jim Donavan, and Violet Hunter, and Donovan's parents, and any friend you've ever made, and any man, woman, or child you have ever loved, and our monsters will kill them, but slowly, very slowly, and will hold off the killing blow until they curse the name of God and secure their place in our kingdom for all eternity. Tell me, son of Adam, do the ancient prophecies bar us from doing that? I am ashamed to admit it now, but her words had the intended effect on me. As she spoke, I felt the color draining from my face, and by the time she finished, my knees had gone weak and I had to mentally prevent myself from collapsing to the ground. Hades interrupted me. Enough with this foolishness. One heart for one soul is the offer we make. No more, no less. I said you do not strike me as a foolish man, Sean Russo. Prove your wisdom now, and accept your limits, mortal. Hades turned towards Jack and his mother. Both of them had grown more alert as the discussion progressed and were now standing. I didn't like their stances. They were ready. Hades gestured to them. It seems the final choice is yours. Choose, Morrows, who will drink the water of the river Styx, and who will live. I will leave you to the discussion. Jack turned to his mother. I'm taking the cup. You know you can't beat me in a fight. Jack's mother looked at her son with love and sorrow in her eyes and reached out a tender hand towards his face, then jabbed him with stiff fingers deep in his gut, lightning quick. He doubled over, wheezing, as she ran for the cup. Jim was still barely managing to stay standing, but I stood paralyzed. Pushed my mind to find something, but nothing came to hand. I watched the two of them brutalize each other over poison. Jack managed to grab her ankle as she ran. She fell, smacking her nose on the rock ground. The demons howled with laughter as the king and queen of the underworld watched the show impassively. She bled, but the blood boiled when it hit the black void underneath. Jack was still doubled over as he gasped for breath, but made his break for the cup. His mother sprang up in front of him fast as a coiled snake, and they went tumbling to the ground together as Jack ran into her. She leapt on him, striking points on his chest and head. I heard Jack cry in pain and clutch at his eyes. Then Jack's mother jabbed him in the neck. He faltered but caught himself. He bled from his nose, mouth, and ears. They were too close for Jack to miss. His mother doubled over. In emotion, Jack picked her up and threw her to the ground in the most savage hip throw I had ever seen. His mother grunted, but she didn't cry out. I think I heard something snap. Jack neared the cup, but Jack's mother leapt on his back for a chokehold. Jack stood for a moment, his hands trying to get leverage on her grip. She moved like a snake. The choke never broke, but she refused to let him grab her. Before long, he stood straight. I thought he was unconscious. He slammed his back down on the black floor. His mother grunted through gritted teeth. He couldn't get up after that, but tried to slip away. His mother held him for what seemed like too long. Her eyes were detached from what she was doing. Maybe she had done this before, to teach him or in front of him. I didn't know what the Grand Mason sent after her. Jack started to spasm. Then he curled his hands. I tried to shout at her. His mother let go. With effort, she rolled him off. She slapped him across the face and he gasped. He was not conscious, but his mother seemed satisfied she hadn't killed him. I watched Jack's mother stand and limp calmly over to the cup, blood running down her face from her nose as the demons laughed and cheered. She didn't even bother to wipe the blood away. She looked at him and shook her head. I thought I taught you that women don't fight fair. She picked up the goblet, her face racked with misery and pain. A lifetime of it. And now this. I ran forward. I didn't know what I was doing, but with Jim and Jack out of commission, I felt like I had to say something. Are you sure about this? She looked at me. Her eyes were dead and hopeless, her face completely sunken. The will was there, but it was set on the only path she could see. He's my son. It's the end for me. For him, though. I thought that was an odd choice of words. Death isn't the end. I choked before I could say anything else. It was hard to look at her with the blood, the dent in her side that bled, but I tried to reach her. I tried to say that she had a choice, but it sounded false, facetious. I could only remind her of a deeper truth. Jack's mother looked at me confused, and then her bloodshot eyes widened. Of course. Of course! How could I? Tears started to run down her face, but she picked up the goblet, then stared down the god of the underworld, whose eyes had grown wide in shock and rage. We'll meet again, Jack, she said, and downed the cup. Jack gave a guttural yell, something I hope never to hear again, as a woman I came to know as Mom Morrow fell to the ground like a puppet whose strings had been cut. His eyes bleeding and watering, stumbling forward, Jack managed to catch his mother's lifeless body, screaming in rage and anger. There were no vows of vengeance, no black oaths, just the son holding his mother, a cruel reversal of the Pieta, as the demons howled and laughed. Hades started to laugh too, loud and booming, his anger gone or hidden. His body bent and stretched until his head came near to Jack and whispered something in his ear that caused Jack to fall to his knees in despair, the body of his mother mostly spread out on the floor. I don't know how long we stood there, Jim recovering his strength, me unwilling to make Jack move, and Jack frozen in grief and anger, the demons laughing and laughing around us. But it was Jim who quietly walked forward and lifted Jack to his feet. Not speaking, not willing to look each other in the eye, the three of us walked out of the underworld, Jack cradling his mother's body in his arms. The corpse was smaller than the woman. Even her clothes seemed bigger the moment before. I couldn't stop looking at Jack, his burden. I had never felt more like a failure in my entire life, the ghost of Hades' laugh echoing in my ears. It echoes still today. Sean Russo. signing off. For now.
Pinkerton's Ghosts is a podcast distributed by Superversive Radio, licensed under an attribution non-commercial, share-alike international license. This episode was written by Anthony Marchetta and is performed by the same. Ben Wheeler edits, directs, produces, and herds cats. Kid Dickerson performs our audio editing. Visit us on Facebook, read articles on superversivesf.com, or listen to us on unauthorized Acast, iTunes, or Spotify. Contact us through Twitter at @PinkertonsGhost, email us at pinkertonsghosts@gmail.com, or send us noble messenger possums with messages strapped to their backs. Don't worry, they know how to find us. Thank you for listening, and good luck.